Hello, thank you very much, David.
Thank you for joining us today. It's great to have you with us. So we're just going to sort of make sure we got your slides in already. I think they're there. Yeah, all good to go. So over to you, Jorge. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, let me see if I can share my webcam as well.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah, you guys see me right?
Yes.
Great. All right, thank you. It was great. I was watching the previous session as well. I was also a bit shocked about all those channels, but yeah, we're gonna touch on some of those topics as well in this session. So, as companies pursue their transformation initiatives, the IT service desk must naturally evolve to become more strategic and centered around the larger business goals. So your team needs to support now the service requests of the entire business and with very limited resources. And this is where automation comes in. So intelligent automation can minimize the workload by taking some of these repetitive and rule-based tasks off your plate, but it can also go beyond that. And we're going to see how with the latest innovations in the RPA market, you can address more and more use cases that before were not possible with RPA. And for that, I would like to share basically our own personal experience, right? At Automation Anywhere, we've seen a huge surge in business growth in the last 2-3 years, right? We've been doubling the size of the company every few months, which has been both exciting but also very challenging for our IT team. Not only did we onboard dozens of colleagues globally every week, but we also need to be accurate in providing everything that these users needed, right? Access systems, applications, distribution lists, absolutely everything on day one so that they could hit the ground running immediately. So with all of us working remotely, obviously this became even worse, right? And the surge in the number of devices, infrastructure, and IT changes, this security and auditing became even more critical. And with all these extra IT tickets, our response times were suffering. We knew we basically we couldn't keep up with the amount of work, and that's where implementing automation became critical for us. So after automating some of the most common and time-consuming processes, such as onboarding, offboarding, ticket assignment, cloud provisioning, security alerts, etc., we are currently seeing a 50% increase in our response times, 15% increase in our CSAT scores, and overall reduced rates and a better security posture. So let's have a look at, let's go back one step and take a look at some of the familiar challenges service desks are experiencing today. New technologies obviously keep emerging, new apps and systems are being added, and existing ones keep evolving. Lately, the cloud and artificial intelligence, coupled with advanced analytics, have been front and center for IT departments. And as we roll these innovations out to employees and customers, supporting their adoption and use can be challenging. Thus, your IT service desk staff needs to keep up with all these latest technologies developments and continue adding new skills continuously. And precisely because of the importance of the IT service desk to keep the enterprise functioning, service desk staff needs to have efficient processes to handle any issues that arise and meet their SLAs. But this can be very, very challenging since many traditional IT service desk processes are still manual today, meaning that the IT support staff will often be answering emails, and the volume of incoming requests or questions can get completely overwhelming for them to actually focus on fixing the underlying issues in a timely manner. Many of the incidents that a typical IT service desk must manage are actually very small, very repetitive, and time-consuming, and therefore they're very costly. So these routine problems slow down attention to more serious issues. What we are also seeing is a very high turnover which is obviously an issue for support roles across all industries. And that's because it's a demanding job, right? And turnover, it's expensive because of the cost of training and hiring new workers and train them on the business particular technologies and deployments. So making the job more interesting and intellectually challenging rather than just repeat mundane tasks is very important and can actually change a revolving door environment into a stable and more satisfied team. So let's see a bit what we see as the core challenge in this diagram, right? In today's enterprise, the main challenge is that the application landscape is completely fractured, right? So you've got siloed systems and siloed processes, and this ends up killing your employee and customer experience. And for example, if we look at an average service request for an employee, they normally receive a request that can come via the IT service management tool, or as we saw in the previous session, through any type of channel, email, chat, call, Teams, etc. And to answer that request, the employee has to obviously navigate through multiple applications to complete this task. And each task can easily involve many different applications, and they are not all of them web-based, nice SaaS applications or solutions, right? There's also legacy apps with no APIs to integrate to. You can have custom builds, etc. And the user obviously needs to manually log in to all these systems and applications, and they have to learn how to use them all as well, right? I was talking to some customer the other day that mentioned that their agents, their employees have to learn up to 37 different applications just to perform their daily jobs. And there's obviously a ton of copy and paste of data between applications. Sometimes you need to update data or fields across multiple systems, process documents, basically, lots of repetitive work that decreases efficiency and increases the risk of making a mistake. And all this impacts your employee and customer experience. So how do you streamline this process and make it more efficient? By introducing RPA bots to automate your workflow and integrate front office and back office applications in the fastest, most nimble way possible, which is what RPA gives you. But the most important innovation that we've recently made is what you can see that a kind of in the middle between the service desk and the RPA automations, which we call Automation Anywhere Robotic Interface, or ARI, which is basically a consumer-like application, an application which has a very similar user interface like Slack or Teams or any Office 365 app, in that you can just literally open it up and use it directly with no training required. And it connects to all your Automation Anywhere bots, giving you a seamless experience across all your processes. ARI acts as that user-friendly interface for users to collaborate with their bots, where they can select the automation to run and trigger bots to pull information, update systems, or escalate the requests while prompting for user input along the way. So in the past few years, process automations have been built around specific tasks in the back office that did not require human input, right? Let's be honest, until a couple of years ago, it was basically finance and HR processes being automated. Now, humans and bots can work together to automate more complex processes, increase productivity, and scale automation across the enterprise. And all this, and that's one of the main benefits, is all this without using all this just using the systems and applications that your organization already relies on. So you need to replace any underlying infrastructure. So what type of benefits can we see by using this approach? The very obvious one is optimized cost, right? If we calculate the cost of service desk calls based on the time that the staff spends on a particular ticket, something as easy as a password reset could cost you around $20 or so, right? So using automation, you can both increase the efficiency of the service desk and reduce users' time away from their jobs. Just automating something as easy as password resets could save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in a large enterprise. Also increase the customer or user satisfaction, right? So automation does a lot to boost user satisfaction. By automating service catalogs that list basic service offerings and allowing users to choose their issue and track how it's being resolved, satisfaction goes up, right? But it's one thing to enable users to easily ask for help and another to give them what they've asked for, especially with digital native employees, right? And millennials are used to instant gratification. So for example, asking them to wait a full day to get access to a piece of software is just not fast enough for them. But things like automated configuration management tools can deliver software on demand. And other aspects of user servicing can and should be automated as well. Basically, anything that involves a support engineer having to do a simple pushing of buttons should be considered a candidate for automation. And thirdly, improve IT employee productivity and satisfaction. The more the routine and repetitive work can be automated and turned into self-service, the more productive and happy service desk employees will be. And with a consumer-like experience to solve most of the common tickets, the training required to get a new hire up to speed is going to be minimal. So at the end of last year, the Everest Group used their enterprise value chain approach to identify we kind of commissioned this work for them to identify the best automation opportunities in IT service desk. They use this 5-step methodology that helps business identify high-value opportunities for automation and prioritize them. So after this analysis, you can see here that in the top right quadrant, we can see the use cases that are high cost and volume and high automation potential. So making them ideal candidates for automation, the low-hanging fruit, right? These include, password management, account, and performance management, and that's processes like again password generations and resets, but also then processes like onboarding, offboarding, access rights, etc. Together, these use cases form account for between 20 and 40% of all the issues raised. So through automation of these processes, enterprise can achieve significant cost reduction while having a very positive impact on systems performance and availability, employee productivity, and employee experience. Those are definitely the first processes to start automation. Then on that lower right corner, we've got image and batch management who are relatively low volume and process-oriented use cases. So they can also be great candidates for automation to help enterprises with increased security and regulatory compliance. But obviously, automated reporting has become the new norm across service desk. But however, there's potential to further improve the depth of information capture in the reporting dashboards by leveraging AI cognitive technologies to provide recommendations and improve the overall process health. On the opportunistic quadrant, on the top left corner, we have processes that have high volume but offer limited automation potential. mainly because many of these are already automated. For example, most companies already have an ITSM SM platform to manage ticket lifecycle. Companies should evaluate, though, their automation maturity in these areas and eliminate gaps accordingly. And the recommendation from Everest was to include on that ignore quadrant those use cases with limited automation potential and relatively low cost and volume. They normally require case-to-case human intervention, domain expertise, or very significant stakeholder management. But with the combination of technologies that I've just mentioned, with our user-friendly digital assistant ARI, we can see that many of these processes or use cases that were not possible to automate a few years ago, now they are beginning to be addressed by automation teams looking to scale their automation initiatives and with the help of this type of solutions. So definitely the number of use cases keeps increasing almost weekly. Now I would like to do a quick demo. I've got this video, basically an example that we have implemented ourselves for our own internal team to handle the provision of accounts around all the different systems, but this one in particular is for Workday, I believe. So here we've got a quick diagram on how the workflow looked when it was done manually, and then how it happens when it's been automated, right? So the user will create a ticket. The IT engineer will take that request, and as we saw in that diagram before, the main challenge is that that engineer has to first wait for approval and then perform and log in into all the different applications to grant access, right? Before closing the ticket, and everything would be done manually, and it needs to involve a different user. So with the use of only RPA or in an unattended approach, this process will be quite challenging to automate, right? Because you need to involve a couple of different humans in the loop, right? Once we have automated this process, you will see that once the IT engineer accepts this request, all he needs to do is to trigger the bot that will automatically ask for approval for the manager and will perform all the activities and all the tasks automatically without human intervention. Okay, so here we can see a view of the workflow of the actual process that was automated here. And this is actually pretty much the design workbench, right? So it's a very low code approach. In most cases, it's just literally drag and drop into the workbench to create your process and to create your bots. In pink, you can see the web forms that are going to be asking for human input. And I'm sorry, I just click on this again. And in blue, you can see the actual bots. So you can clearly see here all the interaction that we are having between bots and humans. All right. So the request has been received around granting access for Workday in Okta. The IT support person will log in into the platform. We've got a single platform for all the automation needs. He's got this panel with all the different activities that he can trigger through ARI. In this case, it's gonna just assign an application to Okta. needs to just copy the email address of the person requesting this this ticket. We select the application that needs to be assigned and the username, and we'll send it for approval to the manager. So now we are going to log out and log in as the approver to see that this person has now a pending task. There we go. As a pending task, it just needs to approve, and that will trigger the bot that is logging into the different systems and just granting that access. In that left-hand side, you can see a sequence of events of all the different tasks that have been performed as part of this process. All the different stakeholders have access to those different steps, and if they are the person assigned to that particular task, they can see the details. If not, they can just see that another person is performing those tasks. So now we are back at the original IT support person that can just decide to, yeah, this is correct, just send a confirmation email to the requester and close the ticket, and it gets closed automatically. We can see that the access to Workday has been assigned, and the requester received an email confirming the ticket has been resolved. I believe that I'm almost out of time, but that's kind of takes us to the end of my presentation. I don't know if we still have time for questions, or do we have any questions?
Thank you, Jorge. We have got one actually. It's come through. Probably just enough time for actually. Is a question from Tom, who asked about the ARI and the purpose. Is it solely for the members of the IT department to provide it with the correct input, or is it performed by the end user itself? Now, I think we've been through some of that since that question was asked, but maybe just explain how ARI works, both maybe for IT and the user, maybe.
Yeah. The idea of ARI is to expand the usage of automation across the whole enterprise, right? So it's until now the use of automation was limited to a few selected people. You know, normally companies will create a center of excellence that will take care of all those automations, and basically the use of automation will touch very few people across the enterprise. What we are doing with ARI is expand that to tens of thousands of users across the whole enterprise. So we already have customers that have currently 20,000 users accessing directly RPA bots and benefiting from all the benefits that can bring them to their daily jobs, right? So it can definitely be used by the end user in a way that, as you can see, is just accessing a panel and clicking the button for the task that they want to automatically perform.
Good. I mean, it's certainly, again, no, that's great. Thank you. It's certainly another really great example of how, you know, services are. People are thinking differently about services, and it's a very obvious, it's not that obvious sort of step to look at automating the bits in between that. And I find that very, very interesting. I'm sure our listeners will as well, and how organizations change to make that happen. So there's some really good examples there. Thank you for that, Jorge. That was really great. So
thank you.
Hope to see you again. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're going to move into a break, which